Today, former central bank governor and governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo, made a passionate appeal to President Buhari to release Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, who is being in detention for some time now. In an open letter, the governor addressed a letter to President Buhari and expressed these concerns over the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu and called for his release. The governor emphasized the need for dialogue and reconciliation to address the root causes of the grievances experienced by groups like IPOB. The governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, is live with us virtually from Awka, the Anambra State capital. It's good to see you, Governor Soludo. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. I think it's on that note that we'll probably begin the conversation. So when you wrote that letter, do you consider that there is a court process in place and that perhaps may have to take its natural course?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the listeners. Yes, first point to make, Sharon, is that letter was actually written late April. If you see the stamp of the acknowledgement on that letter, it was received in the office of the Chief of Staff on the 26th of last month. And yes, on the 26th of April. And the letter was actually dated 20th of April. And so that is for a fact. So it wasn't written yesterday. It's about a month, exactly a month today, that letter was delivered to the office of the Chief of Staff. And what is the message? The message, first of all, is to thank the President and the federal government for the way that they have handled the insurgents, the Boko Haram issue in the Northeast, and also granting amnesty and a rehabilitation program for people involved in the Boko Haram insurgency and so on. Now come to the Southeast. Where Southeast faces some systemic, what I describe as systemic insecurity. And we have this agitation snowballing into today all manner of criminal gangs everywhere in the Southeast profess to be agitators, as it were. And we kind of think, I mean, since I came in as governor, we have faced these criminals head on in various dimensions. IPOB has consistently denied that it's part of the systemic insecurity. Some others attribute them to those, and then they deny. But we think it is time now, even though we've made substantial progress in terms of addressing, dealing with the criminals, because we have zero tolerance for criminality. But there is a bigger part of the reconciliation process, what the security people call the non-kinetic approach, which requires getting all the stakeholders on the table, around the table, to discuss the way forward and the future of security, peace, and development in the Southeast. And I'm convinced that Nnamdi Kanu, hate or love him, or agree with him, disagree with him, has become an important stakeholder in that conversation, giving as well what his own people are doing or not doing. And we need to have him around the table for that conversation. So we made that point about security, long-term security, sustainable security in the Southeast to have all critical stakeholders. The issue of the rule of law is also another basis for our appeal. That there are several court judgments demanding for his release and unconditional release. And at least one of those court judgments has not been challenged up until this moment. Then there is the issue of his health. We read everything, all manner of things on the new media about his state of health and need for urgent attention. And like I said, also then for compassion. Yes, it's in the courts, but it's been on now for God knows how long. This matter has been in the courts, almost 2 years, getting to 2 years now. And that is a saying that justice delayed is justice denied. If you want to have this, let's expedite this whole process and conclude it. I couldn't believe that this whole process would have lasted more than a year, for example. You're now getting 2 years, and they still stuck at this lower bit, and then the courts asking for him to be released. Release him. And I said, okay. The second bit is if, because of the ongoing court processes, you can't release him unconditionally as ordered by the courts, because you have appealed one of the judgments. And I'm saying, for some other compassionate, for us to achieve the other objectives, hand him over to me. We will keep him. When you need him, we'll release him, we'll bring him to you. I will be the shorty. I'm prepared to do that. So we can start off the process of the healing and the systematic solution of the long-term security and development challenges in the Southeast. So that's what this letter is about.
Yeah. So if the President Buhari just have a few days left under his belt to be in office, and there will be another government, and I mean, if it doesn't look like President Buhari has reacted to your letter in any way, if that doesn't happen until Monday, would you be speaking directly with a new administration to be led by Bola Tinubu that would be sworn in on Monday? Is that a possibility?
Well, this is a cause that one believes in consistently. I'm an advocate for rule of law and justice for all. And therefore, if you look at that letter is copied to the president-elect. Okay, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is in the copy of this letter. And I want to believe that a copy has also been delivered to his office, as it were. The Attorney General is also copied on this letter. And if the President Buhari's administration fails to take advantage of this particular, I call it an opportunity to really rise above every other thing and be a statesman, as it were. If the president fails to, take advantage of that, we will be pursuing the same thing with the incoming administration.
Dr. Soludo, so my question now will be, those who are asking, what is your own interest in seeking for Nnamdi Kanu's release?
Our own interest is simple: peace and security. Long-term, medium to long-term sustainable peace and security and development of the Southeast.
And you think that Nnamdi Kanu continue detention is linked to insecurity in the Southeast? For example, the attack on some of the staff and the killing a few days ago of some police officers attached to the U.S. Embassy staff in your state. There was also a similar kind of killing in September of last year of Senator Ifeanyi Ubah's convoy, and some police officers also killed. Are this kind of criminality or this kind of incident linked to the activities or the kind of situation you are pleading for?
Well, that's part of it, Sheung, and coming down to those, I made a point. First and foremost, you recognize that every Monday now in the entire Southeast, there is this notorious sit at home. And his supporters declared this sit at home as a way to press for his release. And this has persisted. We lose humongously in economic terms. The cost is huge. And on the federal, with all due respect, we can't shoot everywhere at everybody. That has not been able to stop with humongous costs to the Southeast, economically, socially, security-wise. Like I said, every criminal gang now in the bush claims to be either freedom fighters or to be supporters of Nnamdi Kanu. And they are saying, so we need him out to be able to separate the substance from the chaff. So he'll be able to tell us who are his own people and be able to rein in his own people. And then so we can then isolate the criminals and face them head on.
So, Dr. Soludo, let me quickly ask you. This incident about the U.S. Staff and the police that were killed, U.S. came out a day ago or 2 days ago saying that none of U.S. citizens were killed, was saying that they are still looking at the situation. As the chief security officer of the state, what can you tell us? Who are those behind these dastardly acts?
Yes, I can tell you with clarity that the investigation is ongoing. But like you said, we have zero tolerance for this kind of criminality. Some of the commanders, those involved in that, I think a few of them have been killed within days. I mean, 2 days after that incident. Within 2 days after that incident, some of them were killed. In fact, some of the, we understand, very deadly one was actually killed. And as we speak now, yesterday, the actual leader of the mastermind of that particular gang has been arrested. And he's here with us. It doesn't really matter whether, I mean, all lives are the same. Whether it's a life of an American citizen, the life of an American citizen is not superior to the life of any other human being. Every human being has a right to life. And whether it's of any cadre, status, nationality or so, we send our condolences to the American embassy, whose staff of various forms, including security agencies, the police, died in the process. We did raise an issue about the way and manner of the visiting team that, you know, they largely bypassed the local security structure here. And we thought that that particular incident was largely avoidable. But all I can say to you is that now that we've arrested the mastermind, the leader of the gang, the investigation is ongoing.
All right.
And as day follows night, we will get to the bottom of it and deal with it decisively, as we have been doing this year and 2 months. And that level of insecurity in Anambra has come down. I mean, this is a very unfortunate incident. Anambra is unarguably one of the safest states today in Nigeria. People are flooded into Anambra. The international community is here. The investors are here. And people are just going about their business. But every now and again, you'll find these lone wolves, come out and inflict one thing or the other and try to run away. But every time they have come, Odumodu, the very deadly one that operates from Imo State, and the day he made incursion into Anambra with all his grenades and amulets and his gang, they were all gone down, as it were. So we have zero tolerance for this. Criminality has no place in Anambra State.
Governor Soludo, let me quickly ask, you have faced some kind of obstacle in your way of achieving the Soludo solution. Security is one of such obstacles. You've spent over a year in office now, issues of flooding, and I know the topography of some southeast states and how difficult the issue of ecological issue is in your region. These are tough things. Are these kind of things bothering you, and perhaps things that you think that the federal government can come to your aid for?
Multi-barrel question. The Soludo solution agenda, the 5 fingers of the Soludo solution agenda are on course. I would say no excuses whatsoever. The challenges are there. We knew that there would be challenges. In my manifesto, we identify the ecological challenges. We identify the environment as the #1 existential threat for Anambra. And the flooding, on the one hand, that could take on half of this land of the state year on year. Then the erosion, gully erosion. Anambra is the gully erosion capital of the world. So we know that, and that's why one of the key, what I call the 5 fingers of the Soludo solution agenda, is the environment towards a clean, green, planned, and sustainable Anambra. And we've launched a massive program on this. Yes, the environment is very excruciating. The federal government obviously weigh the challenges hugely beyond the resources of the state to deal with. And that is why we're seeking partnership with the federal government, with the international community, with the private sector, with the people themselves. Last year, we faced these humongous challenges but we were able to, our coping mechanism was adjudged to be decisive and effective. For us, our agenda is an agenda with a deadline. No excuses, challenges are there. Even last year, even in spite of the paucity of resources, State Assembly approved for us to borrow some 100 billion. As of today, we still have not borrowed a penny of that. But our agenda is largely in course, be it in the area of security, law, and order, be it in the area of infrastructure and economic transformation. On infrastructure, we're now up and running at about 300 kilometers of roads construction going on simultaneously all over the state. Our third bit of human capital, which is our greatest wealth, our greatest asset, human capital of health and education. Is it on governance and transforming the way government works and bringing technology to bear? Or, of course, I've mentioned the environment. We are on course, largely, in spite of the humongous challenges. And I want to believe that in months and 1-2 years to come, I wouldn't want to say much.
All right.
Because we believe in action. Yeah.
Let me quickly, Governor Soludo, you were there at the commissioning of the second Niger bridge. I mean, you being a former CBN governor, now a governor of one of the southeastern states that will be benefiting from that infrastructure. I mean, would you refer to that as perhaps federal government's biggest presence in that region as of today?
Yes, obviously. Without a question. And I had to make efforts to be there personally for the commissioning of that bridge because for us, it's a major game changer. And in fact, I had to excuse myself from the commissioning of Dangote's refinery because my flight schedule was going to make it impossible for me to be there. And I had to cancel to be there personally. It's a very important project, and we are eternally grateful to President Buhari for delivering on that agenda. As I said on that day, the people of the Southeast have cried, we have agitated, we have complained, we have, in every respect, cried over 5 key infrastructure, fundamental infrastructure provision that will change things in the Southeast. The number one of it happened to be dredging, 3 dredging projects that need to be executed to get Southeast have access to the Atlantic Ocean in terms of access to the sea with regards to shipping and so on, port services. Number 2 was the second Niger bridge. Number 3 is the highway which the federal government began but abandoned from Anambra to Lokoja, that when that highway is done,